admired and loved. Roshi Joan, I've never met her, but her spirit of devotion really comes through in her life, and especially this morning I felt that. Yeah, so what are we? What am I? And the teaching is, just as we are enough. So you are enough. Yeah, it's really hard for me to express in words how I approach that. What am I? Who am I? That I am. I know some weeks ago we talked about that we are is the ultimate certainty. It can't really be certain because she talked about radical uncertainty. It can't really be certain in conceptual terms, because what can we be certain of other than the fact that we are, that we're here now? What else is there, right? All we have is the one supreme moment, if you want to call it a moment or you want to call it supreme. That's reality in the sense of what is actual, because our actual experience is the real true test of reality. There's reality in the human sense of be real, be who you are, be straightforward, act with integrity, don't be defensive, and be open-hearted. That's the sense of being real that more and more I'm realizing that sense of being real comes from our willingness, our courage to follow our instincts or our basic nature, to explore what is real in terms of what is actually real, what is actually here and now. So the best I can say is what I am that which is aware of my experience. That which knows our experience. So this is kind of a new way of describing what knowing is. Normally we think of knowing in terms of conceptual knowing, what we're aware of, what we know through our medium of thought. But I think that what real spiritual teachers are talking about in terms of knowing, they're talking about knowing in terms of just being aware of, or just witnessing or experiencing. Like I think I'm aware of my thoughts. I know I'm aware of this room, of this screen, and of watching my face and your faces. We know we're aware. So what we are is a knowing awareness. But we can't really describe what that is, find the essence of what that is, because that which knows our experience, just our presence of being aware right now, doesn't have any objective qualities of its own. Just like when we're watching a movie, we see the images playing across the screen. The screen itself kind of disappears and we lose sight of it. So what that tells us, though, if we explore our actual experience of being aware, is that which knows our experience doesn't have any limits. It's not limited by what we experience. It's not limited by experience. It can't be found in the confines of space and time, because, if we explore space, we can travel for eons and eons of light years and still be surrounded by eons and eons of light years. There's no limits to that. So we are a truly spaceless and timeless reality. But we're a knowing reality, and we're alive. We know we're alive. We know we have the power to feel. So the more we do this practice, I'm becoming aware that our actual experience becomes one of being something that's not perceivable or describable, or that has any limits. And so that's fine in terms of intellectual theorizing. I mean, it kind of points to, it can point to something that wakes us up. But what it points me to is back to the heart center. And, Roshi Joan talks from the heart center. So this feeling that I am, and this heart that I am, it's also unlimited. Feelings are unlimited. There's a spaciousness around emotion. There's a spaciousness around all of our experience. And it's a love of our shared being, because that which knows my experience is the same as that which knows your experience. How many spaceless, timeless, undescribable realities are there? We can't describe it, so we can't say it's one. And we can't find any separation, so we can't say it's two. So in Zen, we say not one, not two, right? But what is our actual substance? So there comes my thinking mind into, well, what are we actually made of? Well, we're made of this awareness. We think, we feel. Those are the two main ones that cause our suffering, is our thinking and our feeling. Thinking and feeling are made out of this awareness. If we're aware of them, we're aware of what they're made out of. We're aware of their actual substance. So we are our actual substance all the time. We can't be anything else, right? That which doesn't change is just this experience of being aware. And so it sounds like when you say, okay, what you need to do is be aware of being aware. That sounds like some kind of esoteric, highfalutin knowledge, but all it is just asking yourself, am I aware? Yeah, I'm aware. I mean, it's the most self-evident, it's the most intimate thing, but it's what we're being aware of is not something perceivable or describable, like our eyes can't see themselves because they are what is seeing. We're seeing out of them. So that's why we say it's closer than close. It pervades all of our experience, including the experience of being a separate body-mind. So the implication of that, it being that happiness, that freedom, it's not changed, this awareness that we are, it's not changed or compromised or limited in any way by what we experience. It's prior to the divisions of our mind. And so when we let the heart energy into that, then our experience is infused with that freedom, with that fullness, and with that realization of our shared being. So it's just, it's not like she says, it's nothing special, but it's also, it is the ultimate. The ultimate, because the ultimate always is, how can it be special? Because there's nothing to compare it to, right? But so it can't be special, because to be special, it has to stand out. It can't stand out from itself. It can only be itself. So anyway, but this freedom, we get this intuition, that spark, when she talks about the light. It's like a lot of times when I meditate, I experience my body is made of light, because I meditate in the dark. And so it's like, it just melts into the dark and there's a light quality to it. Sometimes it glows or whatever, but it's always that way. There's nothing special about that. It's just the way it is, that we're embodied in awareness. We're not embodied in a physical body. We're embodied in awareness. So anyway, it's tough, because we're living in a place where all these things are happening and people are waking up, and we're in all these crises, and oh my God, what are we going to do? And it's interesting. I was with my son Danny's with me this weekend, and he says, Dad, I want to watch all the Star Wars movies. There's 9 of them. I want to watch them all with you, so I can show you the story, all the movies, and I'm kind of like, well, that's kind of cool. So I was thinking of all these different Jungian archetypes, like of the hero, and the shadow and the trickster. And he's opening up his mind. He wants to explore. He's exploring, kids want to explore something bigger than themselves. And the thing about Star Wars is it's out in space. So there's the infinite is there as the kind of the container of the whole thing, So he wants to explore that stuff. And the one archetype that came up for me in talking to him about this was the one of the wounded healer. And so most of us here, can really identify with being wounded. And we're always trying to heal ourselves. And as we realize our shared being, we want to heal others at the same time along with us. And, the wounded healer has an open heart, and sometimes it's broken open. So that happens a lot. Our heart feels broken open. Hopefully it doesn't always have to break open. Hopefully there's a gradual kind of softening and process of immersion into this spirit that we are, this alive spirit that we are. But sometimes we get broken open. I was watching a news thing yesterday, and I felt my heart break open because, these women commentators are talking about the bodies of these young children laying in the streets, and they just would break down and start crying and kind of have to say, "Oh, excuse me," kind of thing, But sometimes our hearts are broken open, but if we can accept that sometimes that's the need, then the healing can come in. So we receive the healing. The wounded healer receives the healing from our source. So I've been talking. I want to give other people a chance to talk. So thank you.
I was wondering if we could hear from Karen, who she didn't have a chance to share the last time. Karen? Are you there, Karen?
Yep.
Would you like to share something?
Not at the moment, but thank you for offering, Judith.
Well,
I will before we're done today.
great. So we'll just have to bear in mind that the time right now is 8:41, so our sharing cannot be long-winded.
This is Norma bowing in. And I am just so delighted to be here with you this morning. And Judith and Roger, you're just bringing me back to all those wonderful moments on Sunday morning and other times that we shared at Cloud Cottage. And it's just bringing me to tears because it was such a special, special time. Just even the ride to get there in the morning before most people are up was a real treat. And I'm aware that this morning in listening to both of you, I'd love a copy of what you read, Judith, because there's so much in there about the earth that I appreciate. And I'm just aware of how I was listening and very present, and then you mentioned the children and how that just brought up such a beautiful and natural response to my heart opening to that situation. And I'm so delighted to hear Karen's voice because I've been trying to get in touch with her. So Karen, I love you and I'm so glad you're there. Would love to hear from you. So thank you.
Thank you, Norma. Good to see you. Thanks for sharing.
Morning. My name is Timothy. To see you all this morning. My intentions was to be at the beach. Rain has kept me here out of the waves of surf. So, I got clouds in my head. I'm like off and on. Haven't gotten up at 5. And I guess my thought or my sense of who I am and my awareness of that is that before anything, I'm a human being. And sometimes I get into being human, and sometimes I'm a human doing. It just not something I control. It's just like whatever kind of is I'm aware of in my mind, whether it's busy, do, or it's like pause and sit and breathe and be with myself and write. Before I make no sense at all, I think that's what I'll say.
And that's more than enough, Timothy. You're a live, breathing, fully human guy. You go.
Good morning. I just wanted to thank Judith so much for being here with us, in the midst of all your wedding preparations and busy time. So appreciate it. I'll just say something very briefly. My mind is kind of like a ping pong ball this morning, going all over the place. But when Roger was speaking about awareness, and I'm still trying to grasp exactly what all that is, but it reminded me so much of mindfulness. Our society right now, mindfulness is a big thing. It seems like everyone needs to be mindful. And I think, and also Timothy had mentioned about a pause. I guess for me, that awareness is in the pause. The pause that's between our thoughts and feelings, and then instead of just reacting without pausing, we stop, and then we take a breath and maybe have a choice on how we are going to then act, how we're going to choose to be or to do. It's hard to remind yourself. It's really hard for me to remind myself to pause, to even be aware of that pause. That's all I can come up with. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Mary Jo. In the pause between our thoughts that you mentioned, what else could be there except just our being as it is? And that when we're talking about being enough, that in itself is enough. And that in itself, all the compassion and all the freedom is right there. It does take a long time for us to pause and just appreciate that. and let that in, let the feelings in. But
That
the
is-
support doesn't come from anywhere else except our being.
That is shamatha, stopping. It's such a pretty word, shamatha.
Mm-hmm.
And awareness, being aware of itself, I think of as consciousness, but I also think of it as the witness. That witness is active for me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been so since I was a child.
Mm-hmm.
I can remember that. Not
Yeah.
talking.
Yeah. Were you going to talk, Bo?
I can. I was just bowing to Judith. I feel like I acknowledge this almost in every share that I share on these Sunday mornings. But this topic, this investigation, is a very active thing for me, and recently I've been exploring these, two aspects of experience that, there's the experiencing, the awareness, and there's the experience. There's not actually a divide there. Like I can't, I can't know the Zoom call without the knowing of it. Like this, without the labels, the ideas of what this computer is made out of, the materials, all that's here right now is the shape and the color. And I can't, where does I'm doing this, it's not even like that, but where does the knowing stop and the laptop begin? It's made of the same thing, and that's noticing. There's this this assumption illusion of there's many objects in a space, but is it really true that this the space around my arm stops here, and then there's something else, and like this is all these are all appearances in just one space, you could say. And noticing that thoughts about an apparent history, different personality patterns, and all of that which is coming and going, it's all appearing and falling back into the same space. And yeah, so just a big thing that's been going on this week is noticing that when I kind of participate from this place of like, my name is Bo, I'm 26 years old, I'm a student, I'm a family member, I'm a partner, I'm a dog owner, I'm this, I'm that. I suffer like a ton more. And then when I notice that I exist between the thoughts that say I'm this or I'm that, and when I really like look closely and I'm honest, that's just an idea. The story of Bo doesn't weigh anything. It's not any height. And that's an idea, something that doesn't have those qualities. This body wasn't named Bo right out of the birth canal, like that was an added on label.
Yeah.
And when I just see that, I am, this felt sense of presence that is prior to any kind of idea tacked onto it. And I rest there. It's a little bit easier to see that I'm not, one object in this experience. I am the entirety of the experience. And that's why we are enough. Because the only thing saying we're not enough is a thought.
Yeah.
And that's allowed too. That is also okay. Because it's here.
Yeah.
And any idea that it's not here is just another thought.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see the freedom coming out. The freedom is sort of, the light is coming out. It's shining more from you. That's great. Yeah.
So let's see where we are on time. We have 5 more minutes. Thank you, Bo. Okay, Karen.
Okay, Mom. What's really so present in this moment is reflecting on who I am now and who I've been in the river that has been my life. Almost every time I meet with you guys, I've lost another friend. And that is so in my life. And I'm part of planning for a reunion. Almost as big as your wedding, Judith. Other people that I lived in intentional community with for 20 years. And it gives me pause to reflect on the part that I've played in that river that has been my life, and how it has how it's flowed through, how I have flowed in my essence through the lives of many, and I'm just find myself really grateful. You can see why it's hard for me to share at the moment. But I have this strong sense of who I am in that web and in the flow of that river. And y'all are part of that. And I am grateful for you too. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you for sharing from your heart, Karen.
I feel your grief.
Yeah.
I love you.
Even in the tears, there's so much joy.
Mm.
And that's what I come back to. Is who I have been, who I am in that flow. Thank you so much.
You've been so important to me in many ways. And when we have a loss, Philip used to say all loss is one. It's interdependent with all the other losses. So I think your gratitude is beautiful.
Anybody else want to share?
Okay, it's 9:00. I'm sorry we didn't hear from everybody, but we do our best. Ann Hung and Tu, Ty's niece and her husband, have a morning Zoom meditation every morning, and there are about 40 some people who attend it, and they actually make sure that everybody gets to speak, so it can go on for like 2.5 hours, and we're not doing that. We'll let you all get on with your day. I'm going to invite the bell.